The hospital silence was deafening as Mark ran down the white hallway, his heart breaking. His 9-year-old daughter, Lily, was fighting to breathe in room 214. He pushed the door open, and the world stopped. His wife held the oxygen mask, but she did not put it on the girl's face. She moved it away, on purpose. Lily's lips were turning purple. Her small fingers shook, reaching for air that did not come. And then Mark heard the words he would never forget. You should never have existed like this if it touched your soul. It is more than a click. It is a silent hug between those of us who know how much it hurts to lose what we love most. Comment how you think this story will end. And if you have not subscribed yet, it costs you nothing. But for us it means the whole world. Thank you for being here. Thank you for feeling with us. The sound of his own steps echoed like a war drum against the bright floor of St. Michael's Hospital. Mark Miller crossed the hallway. With a tight chest, his tie loose, his hair messy from hands that would not stop shaking. Around him everything was white, the walls, the numbered doors, the bright lights that turned the New York afternoon into a cruel noon. He had received the call only 40 minutes ago. A professional, cold voice telling him his daughter had collapsed at school. Severe dehydration, extreme exhaustion, possible organ failure. Words that stuck like needles in his mind while he drove fast, skipping lights, cursing every red light. Lily, his little Lily, only 9 years old, with that laugh that sounded like bells and those honey-colored eyes she got from her mother, Sarah. Mark squeezed his fists. He had not been paying enough attention. He had let work, long meetings, trips to Silicon Valley and Tokyo take his days. Miller Global Solutions, his tech empire worth millions, had been built to give his daughter the whole world. But what was the world for if he was not there to hold her hand? The E. Number 214 appeared before him like a sentence. Without knocking, he pushed the light wood door. And then time stopped. Brenda was standing by the bed, elegant even in that moment, with her grey suit and her dark hair perfectly brushed. In her right hand, she held the clear oxygen mask connected to the green monitor blinking by the bed, but she did not put it over Lily's face. She moved it away. The girl moved weakly under the white sheets, her lips turning a scary purple, her small fingers grabbing the blankets with silent fear. The monitor made a sharp, uneven beep. Her lungs looked for air that did not come, and Brenda whispered, with a voice so low Mark could barely hear it, but clear enough to cut through him like broken glass. You should never have existed. You only ruined everything. The scream that came from Mark's throat was loud and painful. He ran forward, pushing Brenda so hard the woman fell against the metal chair. His hands shook violently as he put the mask over, his daughter's pale face pressing it gently, feeling how the small chest rose for air. Help! I need help here. His broken voice rang through the hall. The monitor made a loud alarm. Lily closed her eyes, her body stopping the fight, falling into sleep like a stone in dark water. Nurses ran into the room in seconds. A young doctor in a white coat took control, checking signs, fixing the oxygen, speaking in a code Mark could not understand. He only saw his daughter's face, so small, so fragile, sliding to a place where he could not follow. Brenda stood up, trying to fix herself, smoothing her suit. Mark, I was alone. I was fixing it. He cut her off, his voice so cold the air seemed to freeze. You were killing her. The hospital waiting room was small, with blue plastic chairs and a silent TV showing news. Mark sat with his elbows on his knees, hands locked, eyes lost on the grey floor. He had not cried. Not yet. The shock kept him in a state where everything seemed to happen behind. Foggy glass. Brenda was on the other side of the room, watched by a hospital security guard. She had insisted on staying, saying she had rights as a wife, as Lily's legal mother, but her eyes showed something else. There were no tears, only cold thought. Dr. Ramirez, a man about 50 with deep lines around his eyes, came out of the emergency room. He took off his gloves with careful moves before walking to Mark. Your daughter is stable, for now. Mark felt he could breathe again, though the air entered his lungs like crushed glass. What happened to her? At school they said she fell during art class. The doctor looked at the head nurse, an older woman named Carmen, who had worked at St. Michael's for 30 years. There was something in that look, something not said with words. Mr. Miller, the tests show chronic malnutrition. Your daughter weighs 30 pounds less than she should for her age and height. She has bruises on her arms that are in different stages of healing. Some are 2 weeks old. The world tilted. That is impossible. Lily eats well, I see her. But as he said the words, pictures began to leak into his memory like water through cracks. Lily pushing food on her plate during dinner. Lily wearing long sleeves even in August. Lily so quiet lately, with that small smile that no longer reached her eyes. How had he not seen it? There is something else, Dr. Ramirez continued, lowering his voice. What you saw in the room, I need you to write it down. Officially. Mark looked up at Brenda. She held her cell phone, typing fast, as if she were in a business meeting and not in a hospital waiting room after almost killing a child. She took the mask away on purpose, Mark said, and hearing the words out loud made them real, horribly real. I heard her say Lily should never have existed. Carmen, the nurse, put a firm hand on his shoulder. There are cameras in the intensive care rooms, Mr. Miller, for patient safety. Everything was recorded. Brenda lifted her, head fast, her phone stopping in her hands. For the first time since entering the hospital, her perfect look showed a crack. Her face got hard, her jaw muscles tight. That is silly. I was helping her. Mark is in shock. He does not know what he is saying, but her voice sounded fake, like a practiced speech. The security guard, a big man with a grey mustache, moved almost without sound closer to her. Mark stood up. His legs barely held him, but there was a truth growing in his chest like a slow fire. I want to see my daughter. Now. Room 214 had been fixed. Lily was hooked to more monitors, with a tube in her thin, pale arm. She breathed with the help of extra oxygen, though she no longer needed the full mask. A clear nose tube gave her the air her tired lungs needed. Mark sat in the chair by the bed, taking his daughter's tiny hand in his. It was cold, so cold. Forgive me, he whispered, though she could not hear him. Forgive me, my love. I was not there. Outside, through the window, the city got ready for night. City lights began to blink like earth stars, and the sky turned a deep orange that promised rain. A child psychologist named Martha Ruiz entered quietly. She was a young woman with round glasses and a folder under her arm. She said her name with a soft voice before sitting on the other side of the bed. Mr. Miller, I need to ask you some questions about Lily, about her life at home. For the next hour, Mark answered everything he could. He told about the routines, the times, the meals. But with every answer, he saw how much he did not know. What did Lily do when he was not there? Who did she talk to? What did she feel? He had trusted Brenda to fill those empty spaces. Did you notice changes in Lily's behavior? Martha asked, writing notes in her folder. She was quieter. I thought it was normal, you know, growing up, becoming more private. And physically, Mark closed his eyes. The long sleeves, the sweaters even in summer, the way she pulled back when someone raised their voice. She wore clothes that covered her, but I thought, New York can be cold even in June. The excuses sounded empty now. Martha put down her pen and leaned forward. Children who suffer long abuse learn to become invisible. It is a way to survive. If no one sees them, no one can hurt them more. The words hit Mark like fists. Lily had learned to disappear, in her own house, under his own roof. When she wakes up, Martha continued, we will need to talk to her, carefully. No pressure, but we need her side of the story. Do you think Brenda... Mark could not finish the question. I am not a police investigator, Mr. Miller, but I have seen enough cases to see the patterns, and what you saw in that room was not an accident. In that moment Lily moved, just a small move of her fingers, but enough for Mark to sit up fast, squeezing her hand. Lily? Sweetie, can you hear me? The girl's eyes shook. Slowly, very slowly, they opened. Her honey eyes were cloudy, confused, but when they saw her father's face, something changed in them. Fear. Not relief, not love, fear. And then, in a whisper so weak, it was barely heard, is she here? Night fell over the city like a heavy blanket. Mark did not move from the chair by Lily's bed, holding her hand even when she went back to sleep. This time a more natural sleep. Dr. Ramirez had said she needed rest, that her body was tired in ways that went past the physical. Brenda had been taken out of the hospital. Not arrested. Not yet. But there were police now, asking questions, taking notes, checking the camera footage. The detective on the case was a serious man about 45 named Jack Ortega, with a small scar over his left eyebrow and a look that missed nothing. He showed up in the room near 11 at night with 2 coffees in paper cups. "Mr. Miller, I know it has been an impossible day, but I need your full story, every detail you remember." Mark took the coffee, though he was not hungry or thirsty. The heat of the cup was the only thing he felt was real. He talked for almost an hour. He told what he saw, what he heard, where Brenda was standing, the words she said. The detective wrote in a small book with tight letters, stopping sometimes to ask special questions. "How long have you and Mrs. Miller been married?" 2 years. We met at a charity event. She seemed—" Mark stopped, looking for the right words. "She seemed perfect. Lily had just lost her mother 4 years before. I thought she needed a mother figure, someone to care for her when I could not be there. And the relationship between Lily and Brenda. There was the question that burned him inside. Fine, or so I thought. Brenda bought her things, talked to her about good manners, how to act in public. I thought she was being a good stepmother, organized there. Did you ever see them together when they thought you were not looking?" Mark looked up fast. "No, I was always working or traveling. I trusted that everything was fine. The detective nodded, no judgment on his face. "Trust is important in a family, but so is checking." He paused. "We have talked to the hospital staff. We checked the room cameras. What you saw was exactly what happened. Your wife on purpose took the oxygen mask away while Lily fought to breathe. She did it for almost 2 minutes before you walked in. 2 minutes. 120 seconds of terror for a 9-year-old girl. Why?" Mark's voice broke. "Why would she do that? That is the question we need to answer. But based on my work, Mr. Miller, when someone tries to kill a child, especially one that is not theirs, there are 3 main reasons: money, jealousy, or sickness of the mind. Lily has no money of her own. Everything is in trusts that cannot be touched until she is 25. The detective wrote something down. "And did your wife know that?" "Yes. It was part of the wedding talks. Protecting Lily's money was not open for change." "Interesting." Ortega closed a book. "We are going to check your wife's money with your okay. Bank accounts, credit cards, investments, and we need to talk to anyone who spent time in your house. Workers, sitters, teachers." "Mary," Mark said suddenly. "Mary Jones, our housekeeper. She is at the house 5 days a week. If anyone saw something, it was her. I need her number." While Mark looked for the contact on his phone, Lily moved again in bed. This time, her eyes opened fully, clearer, more awake. "Dad?" Mark dropped the phone and leaned toward her, taking her face in his hands with great care. "I am here, my love, I am here, and I am not going anywhere." Tears began to roll down Lily's cheeks, silent, as if she had forgotten how to cry out loud. "She said if I told you, you would not believe me, that I would be left alone." Mark's heart fell apart. Mark's apartment in the city was exactly what you would expect from a tech millionaire. Simple, full of natural light from big windows, with designer furniture and art on the walls. But now, under the look of Detective Ortega and his team, it looked like something else. A stage. A place where something terrible had happened without anyone knowing. Mary Jones was sitting on the grey sofa in the living room, twisting a cloth in her hands. She was a woman about 50, short with her hair in a tight bun, and dark eyes that kept moving nervously toward Lily's closed bedroom door. Mark was there. Though the detective had said it was not needed, he needed to hear. This, he needed to know. "Mrs. Jones," Ortega began with a kind voice, "I understand you have worked for Mr. Miller for 4 years. "Yes, detective, since before he married her." Mary almost spit the last word. "Mrs. Brenda Miller." "Yes. Tell me about the relationship between Mrs. Miller and Lily." Mary closed her eyes. When she opened them, there were tears. "I knew. God forgive me. I knew, and I said nothing." Her voice broke. "I was scared. She threatened me. She said if I talked, she would say I stole, that I would be sent away, that I would never see my kids in my home country again." Mark felt the floor open under his feet. "What did you know, Mary?" The woman looked at him with eyes full of guilt and pain. "That she hit her, that she locked her in her room for hours without food, that she broke her drawings, her books, everything the girl loved." The words came out in a fast stream now. Once I found her with bruises on her arms. Lily told me she fell, but I saw the finger. Marks, adult finger marks. Mark stood up fast, walking to the window, looking at the city below like a sea of lights. He could not think through this. He could not breathe. "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice sounded broken, blaming. "I tried, sir. Once. I said Lily looked sad, that maybe she needed more care. Do you remember? You said Brenda was handling everything perfectly, that I should focus on the cleaning." Yes, he remembered. He had been checking money reports on his iPad, barely looking up when Mary tried to talk. He had sent her away with a distracted smile and a comment about how women knew how to handle these emotional things better. He had failed at the most basic level possible. The detective went on with his questions, taking detailed notes. "Did you keep a record of these things?" Mary nodded slowly, taking a small worn book from her bag. "I wrote, every time I saw something. The dates, what happened. I did not know if it would help, but I needed to write it, to not go. Crazy thinking I was making it up." Ortega took the book with care, as if it were a holy thing. He looked through it fast, his face getting harder with every page. "This is very important proof, Mrs. Jones. Thank you for your bravery." "I was not brave," Mary cried. "If I had been brave, I would have talked sooner. Maybe none of this would have happened." Mark walked to her, getting on his knees in front of the sofa to look her in the eyes. "You were a victim too, Mary. Brenda used you, threatened you, but now you are talking. That counts." The detective cleared his throat. "Mr. Miller, we need to check Lily's bedroom, with your okay." Mark nodded, though a part of him did not want to know what they would find there. His daughter's room, her safe space, turned into a crime scene. Lily's bedroom was large, painted a soft purple she had picked herself when she was 6. There was a bed with white curtains, shelves full of books, a desk by the window. At first look, it was the perfect room for a lucky girl. But Ortega knew how to look past the top. They started with the desk drawers, school books, colored pencils, an old music box that played a soft song when opened. Nothing strange. Then, under the bed, a shoebox full of drawings. Mark took them out with shaking hands. The first ones were colorful, happy, smiling families, houses with gardens, dogs playing. They were dated 3 years ago. The next ones were different. The human shapes became darker, smaller. There was a tiny girl, in a corner of every drawing, almost invisible. The adult shapes were big, scary, with no faces. And then, the most recent drawings. A girl locked in a black room. A girl with no mouth. A girl disappearing, literally being erased from the paper. Mark could not hold back the sob that escaped his throat. "She was screaming," he whispered. "She was screaming the only way she knew how, and I did not listen." One of the team members, a young woman with her hair in a high tail, found something else. Behind the closet on the wall there were marks, small lines made with something sharp, as if Lily had been counting days, counting hours, counting time, until something changed. The detective took pictures of everything carefully. Every drawing, every mark, every proof of silent suffering. In the closet, among the clothes hung neatly, they found something else, bags of hidden food. Hard cookies, old fruit, pieces of bread wrapped in napkins. Lily had been saving food because she did not know when she would eat again. Mary, who had followed the team into the room, fell apart completely seeing this. "She took her lunch away," she cried. "She said she was fat, that she needed to learn control. A 9-year-old girl. My God, a 9-year-old girl." Mark walked out of the room. He could not stay there, around proof of his own blindness. He leaned against the hallway wall, sliding down until he was sitting on the floor, head in his hands. He had built an empire. He had changed the tech world. He had been named one of the most powerful businessmen, but he had failed to protect the only person who really mattered. The detective came out of the room several minutes later, closing the door softly behind him. He sat on the floor by Mark, saying nothing for a long moment. "I've seen many things in 20 years as a detective," Ortega said finally. "But what breaks my heart most are the cases where children suffer in silence because they think no one will believe them. Or, worse, that they do not deserve to be believed." "She deserved everything," Mark whispered. "She deserved to be protected, loved, heard, and now she will be, because now you know the truth. What if it is too late? What if the hurt cannot be fixed?" The detective looked at him directly. Children are stronger than we think. With the right help, with true love, they can heal. But you have to be there, Mr. Miller. Really there. Not just in body, but in heart. Mark nodded, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. I will not fail again. The check on Brenda Miller moved with the speed of a machine. Detective Ortega had asked for court orders to see her bank accounts, phone records, emails, and internet history. What they found showed a very different picture of the smart lawyer Mark had known. In a small meeting room at the police station, Ortega spread papers on the table. Mark was there with his lawyer, Tom Smith, an older man with gold glasses and a great name. Mr. Miller, what I am going to show you is bad. Are you sure you want to see it now? Mark took a deep breath. I need to know everything. Ortega nodded and started. Brenda Miller was fired from her law firm 8 months ago for taking money. Nothing went to court because they made a secret deal. She gave some money back and left quietly, but the debts stayed. Mark frowned. Brenda had never said a word. She still left every morning in her suit, her leather bag, as if she were going to the office. Where was she going? Then, to coffee shops, malls. She walked around. She kept the lie going. Ortega passed a page. Her debts now are almost $500,000. Credit cards at the limit, personal loans, gambling debts. Gambling? Online casinos. She bet big money often. She lost more than she won. Mark felt sick. He had shared a bed with this woman for 2 years. He had trusted her with his daughter, and he had no idea who she really was. There is more, the detective went on, his voice more serious. On her personal computer, we found scary searches. He slid pictures of screenshots across the table. How to cause choking without leaving marks. Signs of sudden child death. Ways to cause gradual organ failure. Life insurance for stepchildren. The air left Mark's lungs. We also found this. Ortega put papers from an insurance company on the table. Brenda tried to get a life insurance plan of $2 million on Lily 3 months ago, herself as the only one to get the money. That is... Mark could not finish the sentence. Planned? Tom Smith added with a serious voice. This is no longer just a try at killing. We are talking about a plot, planned for months. The insurance company said no, Ortega added, because they needed your sign as the birth father. Brenda tried 3 times with different companies. They all said no for the same reason. So, when she could not get the insurance, Mark stopped, seeing it. She decided to act anyway. She thought if Lily died, I would be broken, weak, and she could use me to get everything later. It is a strong theory, Ortega said, especially knowing that in your will, you left rules for your wife to handle Lily's money if something happened to the girl. Mark closed his eyes. He had made that will for protection, thinking of an accident, a sickness. He never thought he was signing a death paper for his own daughter. I am going to change everything, he said with a firm voice. Every paper, every rule. Brenda will not see $1. Tom nodded, taking notes. I am already working on that, and we will ask for a permanent order to keep her away. Where is she now? At her apartment, under police watch. She cannot leave the city. But Mr. Miller, Ortega made a big pause. There is going to be a trial, and Lily will likely have to speak. The thought of his little daughter sitting there, living the hurt again, looking Brenda in the eyes while she tells everything she suffered, was almost too much. Is it really needed? Her words are key. She is the victim, the only one who can talk about what she lived inside that house when no one else was looking. But she will have help for her mind, and we will make the process as easy as possible. Mark nodded slowly. I will do whatever is needed for her to have justice. Lily spent 5 days in the hospital. During that time, Mark did not leave her side except to wash up quickly in the bathroom by the room. He slept in a hard chair, ate from the cafeteria when the doctors said he must, but his focus never left his daughter. Martha Ruiz, the psychologist, visited every day. At first, Lily did not talk. She just looked, as if she were checking if it was safe to trust. Martha did not push. She brought colors and paper, let Lily draw if she wanted. Sometimes they just sat in silence. It was on the 4th day when Lily finally spoke. Does Dad know? She asked with a tiny voice, almost unheard. Martha, sitting on the floor by the bed, nodded gently. He knows, Brenda. Hurt you? He knows you were not the one who did something wrong. Tears began to fall down Lily's face, silent at first, then turning into sobs that shook her small body. Mark, who had been reading in the chair, immediately put the book down and moved close, hugging her carefully to not touch the tubes. "I am sorry, Dad, I am so sorry," Lily cried against his chest. "No, no, my love. You do not have to say sorry for anything. None of this is your fault." Mark held her, rocking her gently, like when she was a baby. "I'm the one who is sorry. I should have protected you." She said, "If I told you would send me away, that you were tired of me, that I was a problem." The words stuck in Mark's heart like hot knives. "Listen to me," he said, taking Lily's face in his hands so she would look at him. "You are the most important thing in my life, the most important thing I will ever have. There is no work, no company, nothing in this world worth more than you. And if I ever made you feel different, then I failed as a father, and I am deeply sorry." Lily held on to him, crying everything she had kept in for months, years maybe, since her mother died and the world became too big and scary. Martha watched from her spot, not stepping in, letting this important moment of connection happen. When Lily finally calmed down enough, Martha spoke with a soft voice. "Lily, I know it is hard, but I need you to tell me what happened, when it started, what Brenda did, how you felt." Lily looked at her father, looking for okay. He nodded, taking her hand. "I am here. I'm not going anywhere." And then, with a shaking but getting stronger voice, Lily began to tell. She talked about how at first Brenda was kind, but only when Mark was there. How that kindness went away the moment he walked out the door. About the comments on her weight, her face, her way of talking. About the meals taken away as punishment for being too loud or too happy. She talked about the time Brenda broke her favorite teddy bear, Beery, the one her mom, Sarah, had given her. How Brenda told her she needed to grow up and stop being a baby. She talked about the lockups, about the hours in her room, in the dark, wondering what she had done wrong, about how she learned to ask for nothing, to need nothing, because asking meant pain. She talked about the being alone, and with every word, Mark felt a part of him die and be born again. The father who thought he had everything under control died. The father who knew he had a second chance and would not waste it was born. When Lily finished, she was tired but also lighter, as if she had left a very heavy load on the floor. "You were very brave," Martha said with a real smile. "What you did today took more heart than many adults have." "What happens now?" Lily asked. Martha looked at Mark before answering. "Now we work on you feeling safe again, on you trusting again. And there will be a trial where you will have to tell these things again, but this time to a judge who can make sure Brenda never hurts you again." Lily nodded slowly, thinking. "And can I stay with Dad?" "Always," Mark promised. "You will always be with me." When Lily finally left the hospital, Mark made a choice. They would not go back to the apartment in the city. Not yet. That place was full of bad memories and pain. They needed a fresh space to start again. He rented a small house on the edge of the city. It was a 2-floor house with cream bricks, a small garden with a pear tree that gave shade, and windows that let in a lot of natural light. Nothing fancy, nothing loud, just safe. Mary Jones insisted on coming to help set things up. She carried a guilt that did not let her sleep, but Mark was clear. "I do not blame you, Mary. Brenda fooled everyone, but now everything is different." The first day in the new house, Lily walked through the rooms with careful steps, as if she expected something bad to come out of the walls. Mark showed her her new bedroom, smaller than the old one but with windows looking at the garden. "We can paint it any color you want," he offered, "and decorate it how you like. Not what I say or think, only what you want." Lily touched the white wall with her fingers. "Can I paint something?" she asked shyly. "Like a tree? You can paint a whole forest if you want." For the first time in weeks, Lily smiled. It was not the full smile Mark remembered from years ago, but it was a start. During the next days, father and daughter painted together. Mark cancelled all his meetings, gave tasks to his team of workers, and for the first time in years, he was just there. They mixed colors, purple, forest green, soft gold. They painted a magic tree that spread across the whole wall, with branches reaching the ceiling and roots going to the floor. Lily added stars among the leaves, each a different color. "This one is for Mom," she said, painting a bright silver star. "So she knows where to find me." Mark had to put the brush down and hug her, tears rolling free down his face. The meetings with Martha Ruiz went on 3 times a week. Sometimes Lily talked, sometimes she just drew. Martha said that healing was not a straight line, that there would be good days and hard days, that the hurt did not just go away because you wanted it to. The important thing, she told Mark in a private talk, is that Lily knows she has control now, that she can say no, that she can ask for help, that her voice matters. Mark made big changes in his life. Miller Global Solutions now had board meetings where he joined by video. World trips were cut to almost zero. He hired a CEO to handle the day-to-day while he focused on the plan from home. His co-workers, surprised at first, eventually respected his choice. Some even shared their own stories of loss and regret for putting work before family. One afternoon, while they cooked together, something Mark had to learn from zero, Lily asked, "Is she coming back?" Mark stopped cutting vegetables and got on his knees in front of his daughter. "No, Brenda will never come back. There is a legal order that stops her from coming near you, and after the trial she will be in prison for a long time." "Do I have to see her at the trial?" "Yes, honey, but I will be there with you. Martha will be there, and there are good lawyers who will ask you questions kindly. You just have to tell the truth." Lily nodded, thinking, "And what if she says I am lying? Then we will show all the proof. The drawings you made, Mary's book, the hospital videos, everything. But your voice is the most important, Lily, because you lived this. You survived." "I do not feel like a survivor," she said with a small voice. "But you are. Every day you got up. Every moment you kept going despite the fear. Every time you smiled even though you wanted to cry. That is surviving. And now we are going to do more than survive. We are going to really live." At night, they made a new routine. Mark read to Lily before bed, like when she was small, stories of adventures, of brave girls who saved kingdoms, of dragons that were friendly, of families that found each other after being lost. And he always ended the night with the same line, "I love you more than all the stars in the sky." "Even the invisible ones?" Lily would ask. "Especially the invisible ones." As the trial date came close, the stress grew. Brenda's lawyers, a costly team likely paid with borrowed money, tried to build a defense based on mistakes. Mind stress and mental sickness. They asked for mind checks, saying Brenda was having a bad mental break when the hospital thing happened. Tom Smith, Mark's lawyer, was ready. "It is a common plan," he said in his office with a view of the city. "They try to get pity, show her as a victim of her own life. But we have proof of planning. The internet searches go back months. The tries to get life insurance show a plan. This was not a quick move." "What if the jury believes her?" Mark asked. "They won't. Not when they hear Lily, not when they see the videos. Truth is our friend here." But Mark knew that in a court, the truth was sometimes not enough. You needed showing, talking, the kind of story that reached the heart of people who did not know Lily, who had not seen her dark drawings or the marks on her room wall counting days of hurt. Martha Ruiz ready Lily to speak for weeks. They used a practice room that looked like a court, with chairs set up as if they were the jury, a high desk, like the judges. "When the lawyer asks you questions, just answer with the truth," Martha told her. "If you do not understand something, it is okay to ask to hear it again. If you need a break, you can ask. No one will push you." "What if she looks at me?" Lily asked, her voice just a whisper. "Then you look at your dad, or you look at me. Or you look at the lawyer asking the questions. You do not have to look at her if you do not want to. Am I going to cry? Then you will cry. And that is okay. Crying does not make you weak, Lily. It makes you human." The night before the trial, Mark could not sleep. He sat on the living room sofa, looking out the window at the dark garden, where the pear tree swayed softly in the night wind. He thought of Sarah, how she would have handled all this with her calm and her smart sense. She had always been better at reading people, seeing past the shiny fronts. "Dad?" He turned to find Lily in the doorway, in her star pajamas and her new teddy bear, one they had bought together to replace the one Brenda broke. "Can't sleep?" She shook her head and came close, snuggling next to him on the sofa. "I am scared of tomorrow." "Me too," Mark said with truth. "But we are going to be together, and that makes us stronger." "Do you think Mum would be proud of me?" Mark felt his heart tighten. "Your mum is more proud of you than words can say, because you are brave, you are strong, and despite everything you went through, you are still able to love. That is amazing. Lily stayed silent for a moment before saying, "When I grow up, I want to help kids like me. Kids who are scared and do not know how to ask for help." And in that moment, Mark knew his daughter would not just survive. She would bloom, because she had found a point for her pain. The city court was a big building of grey stone with high pillars and halls that smelled like old papers and choices that changed lives. Mark held Lily's hand as they walked in, around Martha, Tom, and a support team that included Mary Jones, who had insisted on being there. The courtroom was full. News people in the back, behind a rail, family from both sides, people who had followed the case in the news. Judge Morgan, a man about 60 with grey hair and a face that showed nothing, led from his high desk. And there, at the defense table, was Brenda. Lily saw her, and her hand got tight in Mark's. Brenda had changed. Without her perfect makeup, without her designer suits, she looked smaller, more weak. She wore a simple navy blue dress, her hair pulled back without style, hands locked on the table. Her eyes met Lily's for a second before the girl looked away toward her father. "I am here," Mark whispered. The lead lawyer for the state, Edward Miller, was a careful man about 50 with a name for being tough but fair. He showed the case for 2 hours, putting out proof like a doctor. The pictures of Lily's bruises, Mary's book, the screenshots of Brenda's searches, the insurance tries, and finally the hospital video. When the video played on the court screens, the silence was total. You could clearly see Brenda taking the oxygen mask away, keeping it away while Lily struggled. And then, the most chilling part, the look on Brenda's face. It was not fear. It was not confusion. It was something cold, calculated, almost bored. Someone in the jury caught their breath. The defense tried to say the video was out of context, that Brenda had had a mental break, that money stress had pushed her to a temporary sick state. They showed mind reports that talked about sadness, worry, and losing touch. But when it was time for the witnesses, the story fell apart. Mary Jones spoke with a firm voice, reading parts of her book that made several jury members cry. She told about the screams she heard behind closed doors, the bruises that came and went, the weight Lily lost week after week. Dr. Ramirez from St. Michael's spoke about the state Lily had arrived in: severe malnutrition, bruises in different stages of healing, clear signs of long abuse. Martha Ruiz, the psychologist, told about the hit of complex trauma on children, how they learned to hide their voices, how silence became survival. And then, the moment everyone waited for and feared came. Lily was called to the stand. Lily walked to the stand with small but firm steps. She wore a simple cream dress they had picked together that morning, and her hair was held by a purple band. Martha walked with her to the chair, staying close but not too close. Judge Morgan spoke to her with a kind voice. "Lily, do you understand why you are here today?" "Yes, sir. To tell the truth about what happened." "Very well. If at any time you need a break, just say so, okay?" She nodded. Lawyer Miller walked close, his moves slow and not scary. "Lily, can you tell the court who Brenda Miller is?" "She is my dad's wife." She was. Her voice was clear, louder than Mark expected. "And how was your relationship with her?" Lily looked at her hands, then looked up at her father in the room. He nodded with support. "At first she was kind. She bought me things, she smiled. But when Dad was not there, it was different." "Different how?" "She yelled at me. She told me I was the problem, that Dad would be better without me. She locked me in my room and would not let me out for hours. Sometimes she did not give me food and said it was because I was fat." Several jury members took notes, their faces getting hard. "Did you tell anyone about this?" "I could not. She said if I told, no one would believe me, that they would send me away." "And what happened the day you went to the hospital?" Lily took a deep breath. Martha had taught her this way: count to 4, breathing in, hold, breathe out slowly. "I had been feeling dizzy at school. Then everything went black, and I woke up in the hospital. I was confused, and it was hard to breathe. I saw Brenda by my bed, and I thought she would help me. But what?" "Lily?" Tears began to fall, but her voice did not shake. "She took the mask off my face. I tried to breathe, but I could not. I asked her to put it back, but she just looked at me. She said I should never have existed, and I was so scared. I thought I was going to die." The silence in the room was deafening. And then what happened? Dad walked in. He pushed her and put the mask back on me. He saved me. Miller nodded slowly. Thank you, Lily. You are very brave. Then came the turn for the defense. Brenda's lawyer, a thin man named Richard Fields, walked up with care. He knew he had to do his job, but he also knew how it would look if he was too mean to a 9-year-old girl. Lily, is it possible you took Mrs. Miller's actions wrong? Maybe she was trying to fix the mask and… No, Lily cut him off with focus. I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And I know what she said. Children sometimes confuse. I am not confused. Lily's voice rose, surprising herself. She hurt me. For months, she made me feel like I did not matter, and when that was not enough, she tried to kill me, that is the truth. Fields backed away, clearly with no more questions. The hurt to his case was clear. When Lily came down from the stand, Mark met her with a hug that lasted several minutes. She cried against his chest, letting out everything she had held, but this time they were not tears of shame or fear. They were tears of being free. You did it perfect, he whispered. I am so proud of you. The next days went in a rush of more talk, closing words, and the jury thinking. The jury went away for 8 hours, a time Mark spent walking the court halls, unable to stay still, checking his phone every few minutes, as if that could make the process fast. Lily was with Martha in a private room, drawing to stay busy. She had made a whole world of colors on the paper, a girl with butterfly wings flying over a valley of flowers. When they finally called everyone back to the room, Mark's heart beat so loud he thought everyone could hear it. The jury walked in a line, their faces serious and impossible to read. The head of the jury, a middle-aged woman with glasses, held a paper in her hands. Have you reached a verdict? Judge Morgan asked. Yes, Your Honor. Please go ahead. The woman cleared her throat, looking directly at Brenda. In the case of the state versus Brenda Miller, on the charge of attempted murder, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of child abuse with aggravating factors, guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, guilty. The relief that filled Mark was so strong he almost lost his strength. Next to him, Lily squeezed his hand, and when he looked at her, he saw tears in her eyes, but also something else, something that looked like peace. Brenda did not react much. She stayed sitting, looking forward, a look of being fine, finally falling to show nothing. A hole where sorry should have been. Judge Morgan called for silence when the sound rose in the room. The sentencing will be in 2 weeks. Until then, the defendant will stay in jail. As the guards moved toward Brenda, she finally turned to where Mark was with Lily. Their eyes met for the last time. Brenda opened her mouth, as if she wanted to say something. Maybe a sorry, maybe an excuse. But Lily just looked the other way, looking for her father's hug. There was nothing Brenda could say that mattered anymore. Outside the court, under the bright October. Son, Mark picked Lily up in his arms, even though she said she was too big for that. He did not care. He spun her in circles while she laughed, that bell laugh he had missed so much, and for the first time in months, he felt they could breathe. Mary waited for them with tears in her eyes, hugging them both. Justice, she whispered. Finally, justice. Martha walked up with a proud smile. You did it amazingly well, Lily. Your bravery changed everything. Lawyer Miller said goodbye with a firm hand. Shake. It was an honor to represent you, he told Lily. You are going to do great things in life. 2 weeks later, Judge Morgan sentenced Brenda Miller to 20 years in prison with no chance of early release for the first 15. Also, she was permanently stopped from any contact with Lily or Mark. Mark did not go to the sentencing. They had already closed that book. It was time to write a new one. 1 year later, the garden of the house on the edge of the city had bloomed like Mark never thought possible. The pear tree, which at first looked old and tired, now gave a lot of fruit, gold pears that shone under the afternoon sun. Lily picked them with care every morning, putting them in a basket Mary used to make pies with that secret way she brought from her home country. The grass was green and well kept, with small wild flowers Lily insisted on planting because bees need to eat too. There was a wood swing Mark had put up himself, checking every screw, every rope, every safety. Detail 3 times. It was simple without the fancy parts of high-cost parks, but it was theirs. Lily, now 10 years old, had grown in ways that went past inches and pounds. She had gained back the healthy weight a girl her age should have. Her cheeks had pink color, and her honey eyes shone with a light that had been gone for too long. But more important than the body changes was something inside, a confidence that grew day by day, like the plants in the garden they cared for together. Nightmares still came sometimes. Mark heard her scream in the middle of the night, and he ran to her room to find her sweating, shaking, stuck in memories that did not fully let go. But now he knew what to do. He hugged her, turned on the soft light by her bed, and was just there until her breathing calmed and she could go back to sleep. Martha Ruiz continued to be her therapist, a constant and comforting presence. The meetings had gone from 3 times a week to once every 2 weeks, a sign of progress Martha celebrated. Healing is not a straight line, she reminded Mark, but Lily is on a solid path. At school, Lily had found her place. St. Nicholas School was not the most fancy school in the city, but it was the right one. She was part of a support group for children who had lived through hurt, some from divorce, others from loss, some from things like hers. At first she only listened, sitting in the back row of chairs in a circle, watching how others shared. But slowly, she started to talk. First in short lines, then in full parts, until one day she told her whole story without stopping. It made me feel less alone, she told her father that night. To know others understand. And there was something more. Lily had found that her story helped others. Several children from the group had come to her after, thanking her for her bravery, telling her that her words had given them the heart to talk to their own parents, their own teachers, about things they had kept in. Silence. Mark had changed his work life in ways his old partners thought were big. Miller Global Solutions was still successful, maybe more than ever, but now it worked under different rules. He put in life-work balance rules for all workers. No one could work more than 45 hours a week. Emails after 6 at night were stopped. Vacations were a must, not an option. Some investors said no. Mark sent them away with a simple line. If you do not like how I run my company, sell your shares. Most did not, because they found something surprising. Workers who were happy, rested, and present with their families did more work, were more creative, were more loyal. But the project he was most proud of was the Lily Project, a full child protection plan that now worked in 5 cities with plans to grow. They had set up helplines for 24 hours, apps where kids could report abuse without a name, teams of workers trained specially to move fast. The numbers were big and sad. At the same time, in only 8 months they had saved more than 100 children from dangerous states, 100 lives saved, 100 families that now had a chance to heal. But his biggest win did not show on any money report or in any news story. It was this: a sunny Saturday afternoon sitting in the garden with his daughter, with no cell phone, no laptop, without the invisible chains of work that used to pull him constantly. Just being in the same space and time, sharing the comfortable silence of 2 people who love each other deeply. Lily was sitting on a blanket on the grass, drawing in her book with colored pencils Mary had given her for her birthday. Mark read a book, not a business book or a tech report, but a story, for fun. But every few minutes he looked up just to look at her. "What are you drawing?" he asked. Lily turned the book to show him. It was a garden full of children playing, all with huge smiles, under a bright sun with rays that looked like arms hugging them. "It is for my school project. I have to give a talk next week about something that matters to me." "And I picked talking about what happened, about how to ask for help, about why silence can be dangerous." Lily looked at him directly. "Mrs. Hernandez says if I am sure because it is a very personal topic, but I want to do it. Because if even one kid in my class hears and chooses to talk to someone about something that is happening to them, then it was worth it." Mark put his book aside, feeling full of the growth and care of this girl who was his daughter. "Are you sure? You do not have to do it if you do not want to." "I know, but I want to." Martha says turning pain into a goal is a powerful way to heal. Martha is very smart, and so are you. Lily smiled, going back to her drawing, adding more colors, more life to the paper. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you ever miss how things were before? When you worked more, when you traveled, when you did not have to watch over me all the time?" The question hit him with a surprise power. He put the book down fully and moved to sit next to her on the blanket, taking her hand in his. Listen very well, Lily. I do not miss 1 second of that life. Do you know what I do miss? I miss the time we lost before, the talks we did not have, the moments I missed because I was too busy chasing things that did not really matter. What I have now, this, you and me, these afternoons in the garden, these talks, this is the only thing I want. This is the only thing that ever mattered. Lily's eyes filled with shiny tears. Really? Really? You are the most important thing in my life, Lily. The most important thing I will ever have. She threw herself into his arms, hugging him tight, and they stayed like that for a long moment, father and daughter healing together under the afternoon sun. That night, after dinner, pasta with tomato sauce from the small garden they had planted together, they did their favorite. Routine. Mark read to Lily before bed, like he had done when she was small, before Sarah died, before everything got hard. They had finished all the Harry Potter books, and now were in the Narnia books. When he closed the book, marking the page for the next day, Lily yawned and snuggled under the purple blankets, around the magic tree they had painted together on the wall. During the year, they had added things, small birds on the branches, butterflies among the leaves, stars that shone with glow, paint that lit up in the dark. "Dad," she said with a sleepy voice, "do you know what is the best part of all this?" "What, honey?" "That now I know when I talk, someone listens. That when I am scared, I am not alone. That I matter. That my voice has value." Mark felt tears in his eyes, but he let them fall. He was no longer ashamed to cry in front of his daughter. She had taught him that tears were not weakness, but being human. "You have always mattered, my love, from the moment you were born. And you always will. You are the most important thing in my whole world. I love you more than all the stars in the sky." It was their ritual now, these words that had started as a simple, "I love you," and had become something deeper, even the invisible ones. Lily smiled with eyes already closed, falling into sleep. Especially the invisible ones. Mark turned off the light, but left the door open a little, letting the hall light come in softly. He went down the stairs slowly, stopping as he always did to look at the pictures that now covered the walls of his house. Pictures of the last year, Lily laughing on the swing, with her hair flying in the wind. Lily and Mary in the kitchen, both in aprons, making cookies with hands full of flour. Lily on her first day back to school after everything, nervous but brave, holding her new backpack tight. And a new picture, taken the week before, father and daughter in front of the blooming pear tree, their arms around each other, smiling for a real at the camera. Not fake smiles for looks, real smiles born from true happiness. In his office, he opened his laptop and checked the latest Lily project reports. 3 new cases solved that week. 3 children now safe. 3 families getting the help they needed. He wrote a thank you note to the team, then started to write plans for growing the program. His phone buzzed with a message from Martha. "I talked with Lily today about her school talk. She is ready. More than ready. She is going to touch lives, Mark. Your daughter is going to change the world, one child at a time." He smiled, answering, "She's already doing it. Thanks for everything, Martha, for helping her find her voice again. It was not me. It was her. And it was you, for finally being there to listen to her." Mark stood up and walked to the window, looking at the garden in the moonlight. The pear tree cast long and quiet shadows on the grass. The swing moved softly with the night breeze. Everything was at peace. He thought of Sarah, how she would have handled this with more grace, more motherly sense. But he also knew she would be proud of him now, not for the tech empire or the millions in the bank, but for this, for being there, for choosing his daughter above everything else, for learning from his mistakes instead of doing them again. In a year, they had built something real here, not just a house, but a home, a place where love was not a word, but a constant and chosen action. His phone showed another alert, a fast email from his team in Tokyo about a big deal. He looked at it quickly, then closed it without answering. It could wait until tomorrow, or until Monday. The world was not going to end because he answered an email 24 hours late. Because upstairs in her room with the magic tree and the glow stars, the only thing that really, truly mattered was sleeping. He went up the stairs quietly, stopping in front of the open door of Lily's room. He could hear her quiet and deep, breathing that sound he had feared losing forever in that hospital a year ago. He stayed there, just watching, feeling true thanks for this second chance life had given him. "Good night, my star," he whispered. Tomorrow will be another beautiful day together. And while he went back to his own room, Mark Miller, millionaire businessman, father of a tech empire, man who once thought win was measured in money and buys, finally saw the simplest and deepest truth of the world. That family is not just blood or shared names. It is being there when it hurts and when the sun shines. It is protection that does not break, even from the monsters that live inside houses. It is the heart to look at the truth when it breaks the heart. It is the love that is new every morning with acts, not just words. And it is the silent promise he made now, every night, looking at the stars, the visible and the invisible, through his window. Never again will I be too busy to see you. Never again will I mix up being here with just being in the same room. I picked you, Lily. Every day, in every moment, in every small and big choice, I pick you. Because in the end, that is all that really matters in this imperfect and hard world.